Today we're gonna be ranking every single teacher Naruto has had throughout the entire story, and bear in mind this rank's not gonna be about who had the most effect on Naruto as a person and helped him develop as a person. No, this is gonna be about strength, about who taught Naruto the best, and about who taught Naruto more jutsus, more powerful techniques, and was more effective for Naruto's development as a shinobi. Starting off with number 8, Iruka sensei. Now, of course, he was a father figure for Naruto. He was important for Naruto's life, but let's be real here, he didn't teach Naruto anything. Of course, he despised Naruto during his time in the academy, and it was only after the Mizuki incident that Iruka begins to like him, but even so, he was Naruto's teacher for a long time, and Naruto could never even perform a transformation jutsu properly. Naruto also lacks knowledge in practically any ninja discipline that you can think of. He doesn't know the basics after he leaves the academy, so Iruka didn't do a great job there. When Naruto steals the Forbidden Scroll in chapter 1 that contains the Shadow Clone Jutsu, he learns the jutsu in a couple of hours without Iruka's or anybody else's help, so I think Iruka was actually making things worse for Naruto when it came to learning techniques. I know a lot of people were probably gonna be mad at me because Iruka's a fan favorite, but in terms of helping the guy becoming a better ninja, in terms of strength, Iruka kinda failed him. I mean, Naruto couldn't even toss a kunai properly after he left the academy, so maybe Iruka's strength was not really teaching ninjutsu to his students. Maybe he was better with math and more basic stuff. I don't know. I just know that Iruka wasn't a great teacher. Moving on to number 7, we have Asuma Sarutobi. Now you may be saying, wait a minute, Asuma was not Naruto's sensei, and well, he wasn't, but he did teach Naruto one thing, and one thing is better than nothing at all, which was what Iruka did for him. Remember when Naruto was training for the Rasenshuriken and he learned his prime element was wind style? There were only a few wind style specialists in the Leaf Village. One of them was Asuma, so Naruto went for Asuma for a little bit of help, so that maybe he could get a tip or something that would help him developing his new jutsu, and Asuma is actually pretty useful for Naruto's training there. He teaches Naruto that wind style is a cutting jutsu first and foremost. He demonstrates that by tossing his kunais at the trees and teaches him that he should think about wind style as two strands of chakra running past each other in opposite directions and creating this friction that makes the jutsu potent and cuts deeply. Asuma demonstrates that by tossing the first kunai without really trying to imbue it very powerfully and just doing what Naruto was doing with his wind style, and then he tosses the second kunai, focusing the chakra much more and doing the technique where the friction happens. And this is when the kunai just passed through the tree and actually hit the rock behind, and when Naruto dispelled the clone that was learning that technique from Asuma, the clones that were training for the Rasenshuriken actually learned a lot from it, and Naruto was able to advance his training. He was able to cut through the leaf just by using wind style chakra. So yeah, Asuma's number 7 here, my dudes. He's better than Iruka because at least he taught Naruto something useful. You can say that Naruto with that entire army of shadow clones would eventually find that out, and that's pretty likely, but still, Asuma was useful making the training faster. Number 6 is gonna be good old Ebisu, and he didn't teach Naruto for very long. Kakashi assigned Ebisu to be Naruto's sensei after Kakashi himself was occupied with Sasuke, and Ebisu just got one day to train Naruto before Jiraiya arrived and stole Naruto from him. But that day was actually very useful for Naruto as a shinobi. First, Ebisu teaches Naruto about chakra control, which definitely comes in handy later, and then he teaches Naruto how to walk on the surface of water, which is something Naruto uses a lot later on, which is very important, especially in the Valley of the End fight against Sasuke. Now, one could say that anybody else could have taught Naruto that. Jiraiya could have, Kakashi could have, but it was Ebisu. And yes, Naruto was struggling a lot when Ebisu taught him, but that was because Naruto was essentially nerfed by Orochimaru Orochimaru's 5-pronged seal on top of his Reaper Death seal that was sealing the Nine Tails and disturbing his chakra, making it way more difficult to control, and therefore Naruto didn't have a lot of skill to stand on water, but he was still doing it, and Ebisu was impressed by that. Naruto was able to accomplish that because of Ebisu's lesson about chakra control, and this is something very good. Later on, when Jiraiya removes the 5-pronged seal, he doesn't even say anything else to Naruto, he just says, well, try again, and then Naruto's walking on water perfectly because of Ebisu's instructions, and now that Naruto's chakra was no longer disturbed, he was able to do it just like walking on normal soil. That's pretty much everything Ebisu did for Naruto in terms of training him, but as I said before, he had 1 day with Naruto. Iruka had, what, 10 years with Naruto and he couldn't even use the transformation jutsu? I don't know, man, I think Ebisu did better here. I swear I'll stop disrespecting Iruka, okay? I'm kidding, Iruka's fine, he's just not a very good teacher. Now let's go to number 5, Yamato. And you may say, well, but Yamato wasn't exactly a teacher, he was more of a captain. And yes, this was his role when he took over Team Kakashi because Kakashi was in the hospital. But Yamato does help Naruto in his training. First, and this is not really related to teaching, but it does facilitate Naruto's training, he was very important in suppressing the Nine Tails' chakra when Naruto was using an army of shadow clones to learn the Rasenshuriken. Occasionally, one of the clones would lose control of its chakra and the Nine Tails' chakra would come out. Yamato was very important in that moment because he was the guy with the wood style that could suppress the Nine Tails and make Naruto, keep going the training, otherwise he would have trouble. So he, just like Asuma, was able to shorten the training of the Rasenshuriken. Imagine if Naruto had to stop because his clones were all disrupted after one of them went ballistic with the Nine Tails' chakra. Sure, Kakashi could probably just slash through the clone and destroy it, but this would make things much more difficult for Naruto because we see that he feels this massive migraine whenever there's another clone that's transforming into the Nine Tails. But that's not all Yamato does for Naruto in terms of training. He does oversee the final stages of his Rasenshuriken training, at least in the Kakuzu arc. Yes, the jutsu was just 50% complete in that point of the story, but Naruto was still able to take out Kakuzu with it, which is pretty impressive. I mean, Kakuzu's stronger than Pain, so it's really impressive. But the most important thing Yamato taught Naruto was about the combination of elemental styles. He wasn't the one who taught Naruto about the 5 elements themselves, but the combinations, that was Yamato's thing. And we see that Naruto and Yamato implement that right away when they arrive in the battlefield. Naruto uses a wind-style Rasengan and Yamato uses his water style, combining the jutsus together to counter Kakuzu's fire and wind style combination. If they had used only one of those jutsus, then the fire wind style would have blasted through them, killing Kakashi, Ino, and Choji in the process. But that's not even the most important instance of Naruto using that technique. No, in the war arc, when Sasuke joins the fight with his Amaterasu, Naruto knows how to combine his Rasenshuriken with the dark flames of Amaterasu to attack extremely powerful opponents. They hit the 10 Tails itself, and then they use the jutsu against Jubito. Very high stakes, stressful situations where the world is literally on the line, and Naruto thought back to Yamato's lesson when he combined the Rasenshuriken with the Amaterasu arrow for the first time. So yeah, it was very impactful because think about this. Wind-style Rasenshuriken is definitely the strongest wind-style jutsu on the planet. And Amaterasu is definitely the strongest fire-style jutsu on the planet, so combining the strongest wind and fire attacks into one, which they enhance each other by their properties, is gonna be insanely powerful, and a combination that Naruto and Sasuke pull off perfectly. It's very well set up, because when Yamato teaches that to Naruto, he's kinda sad and he thinks, oh man, Sasuke has fire-style and I have wind-style, well, this means we could have made a very good combo together, but now Sasuke is with Orochimaru and it's all the bad stuff happening right now. And then in the war arc, when Sasuke joins the battle, they actually do the move, which is really cool. Yamato also teaches Naruto the weaknesses each element has to each other. This doesn't come to play that much for Naruto overall in the series, but it is useful because it's just Shinobi knowledge that you should have, and also it comes up in the fight against the third Raikage in the war arc, where he's saying, yeah, you have to hit me with wind style because that's my weakness. My lightning style style armor is weak against wind. Of course, Temari isn't able to do anything against him. Then Naruto arrives and says, no, I am the better wind style user. It doesn't work. The Rasenshuriken is unable to defeat the third Raikage. Naruto comes up with another solution. But anyways, this is the time when it came up the most for Naruto as a character in the war. So yeah, Yamato, he wasn't the guy that taught Naruto the most stuff. He wasn't with Naruto the longest, but he was pretty impactful. Unlike Iruka. Number 4, we have Killer Bee, the man who taught Naruto how to tap into the Nine Tails in a proper way. And you may be saying this is a very low position for Bee, but hear me out. Bee, well, he was definitely important, but his training wasn't exactly what made Naruto learn KCM. Sure, he knew the ways of how Naruto could do it. He had to face against the Nine Tails releasing the seal a little bit, and Bee did help in the fight itself. He held a Bijudama with his hand, well, the Eight Tails hand at least, and he had general advice for Naruto during that. But Naruto was actually helped by Kushina much more than he was by Bee. So there goes an honorable mention for Kushina. She was very important in the fight against the Nine Tails inside of Naruto's consciousness, or whatever the realm is. And yeah, Killer Bee knew that Naruto would have to do the tug of war with the Nine Tails, but Kushina was the one who made Naruto win that. So Bee was kind of unprepared for things. Maybe he underestimated the power of the Nine Tails, or maybe he was just not a very good teacher. After Naruto became capable of entering KCM, Bee went to train Naruto on how to control it better, because he had no control over it, essentially. He was too fast, he was punching through the walls when he was attacking Kisame and getting stuck in them, so Bee did help Naruto master it. Of course, that type of finesse training didn't have much to do with Bee himself. He was just saying, yeah, no, Naruto, you just go and put this block on top of that other block so you can learn how to touch things lightly with the KCM and acquire some touch and feeling to it. Of course, Bee was effective as a teacher because Naruto learned KCM, but Bee didn't even have to teach Naruto the Bijudama because Naruto already knew that from the Rasengan, and also KCM 2, he just befriended Kurama, and Bee had nothing to do with that. It's not as though he required more training to develop KCM 2. No, it was just, yeah, Kurama, we're friends now, let's go! So Bee goes to number 4, now let's go to number 3. And that's gonna be Jiraiya, the Toad Sage of Malmyoboku. Now this position here is probably not going to please anybody, because people are either gonna say that Jiraiya was the best teacher Naruto had, or the worst teacher Naruto had. I like to take a more middle-of-the-road approach with him. He did some things very well, and some things not so well for Naruto, so it kinda balances out. He is still in a high position, just not as high as he could have been. Now, what people that say Jiraiya sucks at teaching usually bring up is the fact that Naruto was very unimpressive after the time skip. And yes, he was definitely the one in Team 7 that evolved the least, but still, he got more powerful. He became very versed as a ninja. He could use weapons better. His taijutsu was much better. His strategic sense was much better. Essentially, the basics were completely improved over the time skip, and he also learned a slightly bigger Rasengan. Which people will always bring up saying, oh wow, you learned a bigger Rasengan now, it's a couple of inches bigger than your normal one, wow. And yeah, it is a little bit underwhelming because Naruto doesn't really do anything very interesting right after the time skip. Jiraiya also taught Naruto how to break out of genjutsus, which didn't work when he tried it against Itachi, but Itachi is a bad opponent when it comes to genjutsu. Like, Jiraiya himself wouldn't be able to break out of it, so Naruto's excused, and Jiraiya as well. So Naruto does learn a lot of stuff after the time skip, and he is definitely at a mid to high Chunin level in chapter 1 of Naruto Shippuden. In base, of course, I'm not counting the Nine Tails in the equation yet. Naturally, Jiraiya's most important contribution for Naruto as a shinobi was the Rasengan. He was the one who taught Naruto the jutsu, and, well, he didn't come up with the training himself because that was Minato's jutsu. We don't know if Minato gave the same training to Jiraiya that Jiraiya eventually gave to Naruto, because it would just be so weird, the student teaching the teacher with those very specific training methods. Sure, Jiraiya would have the basics much more than Naruto did in the sorry for Tsunade arc, because Naruto didn't know the stuff like the chakra has a proper rotation direction. And of course, Jiraiya would already be much better at manipulating the chakra than Naruto was when Jiraiya was learning the Rasengan. So maybe Jiraiya came up with that training himself, with the balloons and stuff. But even if that was Minato's idea, it doesn't make Jiraiya teaching Naruto the Rasengan there any less impressive. It's an A-rank jutsu that Naruto, this genin that's historically not very good at mastering difficult techniques, learns in the course of a month, maybe a bit more. We don't know exactly how much time it took Naruto, but it took Minato 3 years to develop it. Minato, who is the greatest prodigy the Leaf Village has ever seen, Naruto learned it in a month. Now yes, he used the Shadow Clone Jutsu to complete the jutsu, which you could say is a little bit of a cheating method here, and Naruto came up with that himself. It wasn't Jiraiya. Of course, Jiraiya gave him the inspiration, you say, because he taught Naruto that he had to control the chakra and he also had to rotate it and create the powers. He couldn't do two things at the same time, and then he resorted to a Shadow Clone to do one of the steps for him. With that jutsu, Naruto was able to defeat or stalemate Kabuto, who was a Jonin at that point of the story, at least. So it's pretty crazy. But now let's talk about the bad things Jiraiya did. Starting off with the training and the tuning exams. Now, Jiraiya, he teaches Naruto how to access the Nine Tails' chakra there. That's essentially what he does. And it's not very difficult for Jiraiya. He doesn't do much at all. He essentially tosses Naruto down a massive pit and hopes that in that moment of desperation, Naruto will be able to tap into the Nine Tails' chakra. A bit of a gamble there, risking the life of Godson to see if he can use the Nine Tails' chakra. I think Jiraiya had a plan B, a jutsu prepared to rescue Naruto if he was gonna die in that moment. But Jiraiya didn't do much there. He gave Naruto the summoning contract, which Naruto just had to sign. It wasn't as though he had to undergo training or anything. And then when Naruto was unable to summon a toad properly, he was just summoning tadpoles, Jiraiya was like, yeah, screw this, Naruto, just go down a pit. Let's see if you can use the Nine Tails' chakra now. Not the most thoughtful type of training, but it does bring results. Naruto summons Gamabunta, and then Gamabunta is extremely useful against Shukaku after the invasion of the Leaf Village. But it turns out that teaching Naruto how to tap into the Nine Tails' chakra was a mistake to begin with. After the time skip, Jiraiya realizes that what he did to Naruto was to weaken the Reaper Death Seal every time Naruto drew some of the Nine Tails' chakra, and the chakra inside of him became much more unstable because of that, meaning that more and more chakra was leaking out when Naruto had a burst of powerful emotions. And because Jiraiya didn't have the proper knowledge as to how Naruto could master the Nine Tails, and this is what B does later, he was unable to complete that training for Naruto. This was Jiraiya's greatest mistake when he taught Naruto. During the time skip, they focused a lot on mastering the Nine Tails' chakra. Jiraiya loosened the Reaper Death Seal with a key Minato left behind to see if Naruto could bring a lot of chakra out, and he did bring the fourth tail, which almost killed Jiraiya. He then realized that bringing out so much chakra was hurting Naruto a lot and actually shortening his lifespan, which is not something Jiraiya wanted. And Naruto could not control that amount of chakra. It was too much for him. He was taken over by the hatred of the Nine Tails and would unleash its fury against anything that came across it. So yeah, it was a waste of time, and this is the reason why Naruto didn't develop as much as Sasuke and Sakura in the time skip. Because essentially Naruto and Jiraiya wasted a lot of time in the Nine Tails' training that didn't really amount to anything fruitful. And this mistake of trying to tame the Nine Tails without the proper knowledge began in Naruto Part 1 in the Chunin exams arc, and continued up until the time skip. So this is the reason Jiraiya is not higher on the list, but he was also very important at the same time. Now going to number 2, we have Fukasaku, the toad that taught Naruto Sage Mode. And this was done in record time. Fukasaku himself is impressed of how Naruto got Sage Mode so fast. And without Fukasaku, this would have been impossible. It is implied that you need an animal to teach Sage Mode to you. We never see somebody learning it otherwise. So Fukasaku was literally essential for it. It was not as though something Naruto could learn eventually by himself. Sage Mode propelled Naruto into a completely different tier of strength. He was a mid to high Chunin, you could maybe say low Jonin level before Sage Mode, and after Sage Mode he becomes a high Kage level character. Fukasaku teaches Naruto how to collect Sage Mode, how to fight with Sage Mode. He teaches Naruto Frog Kumite, which Naruto uses to defeat one of the paths of pain, just punching the air, and then the pain gets hit by this attack of Sage energy that surrounds him. Fukasaku helps Naruto coming up with the strategy which he leaves one of the shadow clones in Mao Myoboku collecting Sage Mode and summons it into the battlefield so he can get a recharge. And he really helps Naruto in every step of the way, using the oil to first open up Naruto to the Sage energy and then teaches him, well, this is what Sage energy can do, showing him the statues of the ones who became stone. And I had to leave him in here just because of how effective and important Fukasaku was for the training. You can say that B's training made Naruto stronger than Fukasaku's training in perspective, but Fukasaku was much more important for the training of Sage Mode than B was for the training of KCM, all things considered. Also, Sage Mode comes in handy after in the arc anyways, against Jubito, for example. I mean, and obviously against Pain too in the Pain arc, but I think this goes without saying. It is unfortunate that Fukasaku vanishes after the Pain arc, never appears again, but it was essentially his part in the story. He didn't have much more to do. He had to teach Naruto Sage Mode, and he did a perfect job at that. Maybe he could have showed up in the war arc, that could have been interesting, fighting alongside Naruto in Sage Mode, but the war arc had already too many things thrown into it, so Fukasaku showing up there would just make things messier probably, so yeah. He still did a great job at teaching Naruto Sage Mode. And number one's gonna be Hikaku Uchiha, the man who taught Naruto how to become the Solo King. I'm just kidding, it's Kakashi. And I know a lot of people say, no, Kakashi didn't actually train Naruto very hard. He was much more biased towards Sasuke. He just trained Sasuke. And this is just not correct. Well, he trained Sasuke more in part 1 than he trained Naruto, but he still trained Naruto in part 1. He taught Naruto how to climb up on trees and control his chakra much better. He also taught Naruto the very basics of how to be a ninja, because Iruka certainly didn't do that. And you may say, well, but just climbing trees is pretty unimpactful. One, it's not, because it's not just about climbing trees. It's about learning the ability to control your chakra better that can make your life much easier in the future for everything related to being a shinobi. But if it was only that, he wouldn't be as high up on the list. No, Kakashi definitely becomes a much better sensei for Naruto in Naruto Shippuden. First of all, he teaches Naruto about the basics of the 5 major elements, which is insane because Naruto was a 15-year-old who didn't know anything about them. He was going on missions to hunt down the Akatsuki and rescue the Kazekage, and he didn't know about the 5 elements and how they functioned. Just imagine you're playing the World Cup and you don't know the rules of football. It's insane. And maybe one can say, yeah, it's because Naruto wouldn't have been able to understand that in part 1. And I get that. That may be true, because Naruto was not the most book-smart person in the universe, much on the contrary. But regardless, Kakashi teaches him that, and he does so because he wants to teach Naruto a signature, extremely powerful S-rank ninjutsu. By unveiling Naruto's main chakra transformation, Wind Style, Kakashi could know what Naruto was capable of. But that's not all, he also teaches Naruto how to actually use the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Before that training, Naruto just spammed the Shadow Clones and expected something to happen. Let's see if I can hit the guy, shoving as many clones into him as possible. The Shadow Clones are supposed to gather intel. You collect the memories of the Shadow Clones that are dispelled to use that in battle, to get information, to do stuff. And Kakashi comes up with this amazing form of training that can bypass years and years of hardship by using an army of clones doing the exact same thing, training for the same stuff so that they can learn quicker. It's absolutely brilliant. The Rasenshuriken would have taken Naruto years upon years to master, if not by that technique. And it's not just that Naruto learned his most powerful jutsu, Naruto also learned how to use his clones, which is arguably more important. So he learned his nature transformation, he could use wind style, he learned the most powerful jutsu anybody had in the Leaf Village, arguably at that time. He learned how to coordinate strategies with his shadow clones finally, which enabled him to fool Kakuzu 2 times in his fight against him, and eventually land the Rasenshuriken, and this was all thanks to Kakashi, the man who's always believed Naruto would be able to surpass his former sensei, the 4th Hokage. Makes you wonder how much faster Naruto would have learned the Rasengan back in the day if he had used this method. Now, of course, they didn't have Yamato to spare, so Naruto could go ballistic with a Nine-Tail, but the ceiling was not that weak back in part 1, so we just don't know. It would have been faster for sure. He couldn't have used an army of clones, but he could have used like 10 or 20. Would have made the Rasengan training much easier. Still, Kakashi came up with that idea in Naruto Shippuden, which was a great idea. And it's essentially something that only Naruto himself can do, because other people just wouldn't have the chakra. Kakashi definitely deserves number 1 on this list. Now, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, like this video to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, and watch this other Naruto video right here. It's really good, trust me. Thank you so much for watching.